Hi, I'm Barry Sahajian. This video is about 7th chord bass improv Mixolydian bebop scale bass soloing techniques number 3. There's a link above for the first and second videos on bebop. I strongly advise you might check those out to help you understand more of what's going on today and from here on. For this video, there's going to be a number of examples. I will index them all with timestamps, and you'll be able to find that below as well. And there'll be play along and study materials on my Patreon page you can download. So, to simplify, a bebop dominant scale or Mixolydian bebop, which is the same thing, can be used anytime you see a 7th chord effectively and correctly. One of the attributes of the bebop scales are there is an added passing tone, which opens up many more possibilities and makes it more user-friendly, and it's easier to play fast, basically. So that would be between the A, which is the root, and the flat 7 of the Mixolydian mode. So you add that, you have A, and then G sharp, which is the major 7th, which by itself does not work with a 7th chord, but it works because it's a passing tone. It's a passing tone either going in two directions. It could go A, G sharp to the flat 7, so it will be a passing tone that resolves to the flat 7, which makes it work. If you were ascending, it would go G, G sharp, A. The G sharp would be a passing tone going to the A. That's one thing you must know. So you're playing, it adds a bluesy tone because a passing tone is very dissonant against the A by itself. Another thing about this, and I mentioned this a lot in the last video, is the strong and the weak beats, having the chord tones happen on the strong beats only. In this case, every other note, because you put that passing tone in there, will be a chord tone. Watch. So you have A, G sharp, passing tone to the flat 7. So you've played root, a passing tone, and then a chord tone. And then you play the 6, which is a scale tone, and the next tone will be the 5th. So you have every other note so far is a chord tone. That's what makes this scale unique. Chord tone, passing tone, chord tone, then you have a scale tone in between the next chord tone, which would be the 5th. Chord tone, chord tone, chord tone, chord tone, chord tone. So every other note is a chord tone. Now, if you are playing a major scale or just the Mixolydian scale, that does not happen. So you can understand why it sounds so much better. Up until this point, all I have been playing is the scale, ascending, descending, and showing you a little about it. And also, I added the A7th chord on this new example, as well as some creative adjustments to make it sound more musical. So I'd like to discuss what I did and analyze it so you can understand it and perhaps use it yourself to emulate from it or use the creative example as written. So we start out going down the scale, and that's just as the scale is and how you've learned it so far. Then we go up the scale. Okay, so you're going down the 4 chromatic notes and then going to the 5th and going back up the same way. From there, this is where it changes a bit, and I'm going to explain what I'm doing. So I'm playing, I'll take it from the root going up, That would be. Hear the difference, something different there, and let me explain to you what I did. So, as I told you before, every other note was a chord tone. So we're gonna change that a little bit and put a chord tone on a weak beat, and watch how different it sounds. And these are the adjustments and how it works when you start getting creative with the bebop scale. So root, and then scale tone. That's the same so far. Now the next note is a blues tone. It's a flat 3, and this is a 7th chord, and you need a major 3. So the flat 3 can act as an approach tone to the 3. So what you have still is every other note. Watch this. Root, and then scale tone, and then in between the scale tone, we're putting a blues note, and then going to the scale tone, which is a 3rd. And then we hit that blues tone or approach note, and it would still be in between a chord tone. And then back to the chord tone again. And then the last 2 notes are both chord tones. So you see all the differences there, and it makes it sound all the better and different, more musical. This next example goes back to having a chord tone and a passing tone, or a scale tone and a chord tone, etc. So we play the first 4 notes of the descending bebop scale. That will be the first notes. We've already done that a few times. And then you go up to the 3rd, right here, the C sharp on the 6th fret of the G string, and you play down the scale, 3, 2, 1, and then you put a passing tone to the 7th. Because we did that, sounds a little different. So here's how I would advise practicing it. Leave the second measure blank, so it's a 2-bar phrase, or fill it in yourself. See if you can fill in some type of line, and then go back to the first measure. I kept the line in between simple, just if you can get to improvise something in there, now you have something that changes, and you can use it, somewhere along the line. So let's think of another way we can change this and extend on it without a whole lot of problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to all I did simply was to continue down the scale. Sounds pretty good. And something different about this line I'd like to point out. I wind up on beat 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just because you land on beat 4, it gives you a whole beat to go to another place and continue on doing some other idea, And that works out pretty nice. Let's try another thing we can use, to extend on this simple line. That sounds pretty nice. So let me explain what I did there. So what I did was 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and I wound up on the 3rd of the A chord, so it's pleasing to the ear because you're not landing on the root again. So there's a couple of ideas, and that's the way you extend on this, and you get accustomed to improvising a little at a time, but you really have to keep it, like in meter, like 2 measures at a time, so you can throw that in when you feel like it and you know it's going to work, as opposed to just, trying to squeeze it in somewhere and you make a mistake and it turns into a train wreck. That's what you don't want. Just those 2 lines played back to back is something. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of upcoming videos, like and comment. And I'm going to continue on with this, and we haven't even touched on the modes of the bebop scale. That's another thing entirely, and it gets some great new sounds, and I'd like to go there the next time and keep going on this, because just a few lessons on bebop scales will get you started, but it is something you have to devote some time to if you really want to get it happening. And as I showed you, it doesn't necessarily mean you can play it on bebop. You can play it, I play those on funk lines and it sounded pretty decent. Thank you for stopping by. Hope to see you again soon.